Overland on this warm coat project. Our social workers in our club, in our school district, will happily accept these warm coats and distribute them to the children in need. Thank you very much for this project. So it lays out what they're going to do and what we're going to do. And so that's what that letter is from. A budget, again, very simple. If it's dictionaries, you're buying 1,000 dictionaries. Maybe you're also buying some book plates, and so that they're identified. The ones we have the four-way test on them, and says this book was given to this student. They can sign their name by the Rotary Club of Overland, and so it's a nice way. Those are our two costs. We've got a bill for dictionaries and a bill from Office Depot where we printed up the book plates. If we're buying a freezer, we got the freezer. Whatever it is. And so make your budget. If you're buying new playground equipment, you might contact 2 or 3 vendors and get 3 different prices. Put in the application. You can put all 3 in, but of course put in the one that you're really wanting to use, that you think is the best price or the best value, and show where you got the price coming from. Now, it's not an absolute requirement to have that, but when the district is sitting there looking over 30 applications and they see that you want $5,000 for playground equipment, that there's something there substantiating that. It's just not a line item on the application, that they can say that, oh, here, oh, that looks like a nice piece of equipment. And that's the price of it, and that includes delivery and installation and all that. So including the pro forma invoices or estimates is really good. Keep in mind, there's no coming back for more. You want to get that whole budget worked out and planned out and thought out well, because you can't come back in August and say, oh, we need another $1,500. We didn't know that. Because that's going to be up to your club to figure out where to get it. Authorization, there's a page there where it shows that your current club president, who has authority this year, and your president-elect, who's going to have authority over the implementation and the budget and the finances of your club next year, that they both sign that project. Also, there's a place on there if you're doing an international project where the club president or president-elect from the international club signs it, so that you know you've got some cooperation, so that it shows that your club is really thinking this through. Don't worry about the page where it's asking for Greg's signature and Frank's signature and Mark's signature. They're going to take care of all that. Once the application is approved, they'll take care of all those signatures and keep that in their records. The checklist that's on the first 2 or 3 pages of the application really is worthwhile to go through and make sure that you've hit all the buttons. If there's something there that you've missed that really applies to your particular project and you don't understand it, call Greg or call Frank and talk about it. Work it out so that you figure out what you need to do. And then send in the application early in case they need to send it back to you or tell you that, hey, this, and this isn't right, it needs to be fixed. It's hard to do that after the deadline is passed. Back in the day when I was receiving these from our district clubs, a lot of them still came in by fax at midnight on the last night, Rotarians. It's classic. It's humorous now. It's really, but when I was sitting there in the chair, it wasn't so funny. The next morning I'd get there and there'd be these 5 new applications, and typically one was worse than the other, and it's like, well, I better call them and tell them what they need to do. Let's move into the final report. Much simpler. I think it's 1 or 2 pages. 1 page? 2 pages. Yeah. Should be submitted, ideally, within 60 days of finishing the project. If you're buying dictionaries, it could be sent in the next week. Yeah, you're done. You bought the dictionaries, you bought the book plates, here's my receipts. Ideally, you'd go to the schools and hand them out first. That'd be great to be able to say that 6 of our Rotarians or 10 of our Rotarians went 2 by 2 to the 5 different grade schools, passed them out, and talked about the 4-way test while they were there. And that's great. And then turn it in. Don't wait till April. Get rid of it. Get done with it. Because we found out that if you don't turn it in, and then some Rotarian leaves, another Rotarian's there, things have gotten lost, your district can't apply for next year's grant until they've taken care of this issue. And then next year's president-elects are going to be hurting when the money shows up late. It's great to send in photos along with your receipts, but it's important that the club keeps those original receipts in their records. Only send copies. Thankfully now we can snap a picture. You can paste 2 or 3 of those pictures on a Word document, along with the final report, print it to PDF, send it in, so you got the pictures and the receipts and the bank statements, everything, the spreadsheet of the expenses, all of it in one little PDF document that gets sent in, and it's nice to keep as well that way. So question by question, the district grant report is, what did you do? And this can be just as simple as before. You don't need to talk about the economic situation in your town or how illiterate the children are. You just say, we bought 1,000 dictionaries, or we bought a freezer for the food pantry. The food pantry is located, this is the name of it, this is where it's located, or the schools that we helped were this school, that school, this school, and that school, all part of the Miamisburg School District, or whatever. Who were the beneficiaries? Children, 3rd graders, 650 3rd graders, 1,000 3rd graders. That's what we did. Question 2, how many Rotarians took part? Don't want to see all of them. Everyone in the club. No. Just give us a number. Nowadays, with Club Central, where we can go on to Club Central and report in how many hours our Rotarians are volunteering in the community every week or every month or every year. This is a great thing where you can put in saying 10 of our Rotarians were involved in this project, going and spending an hour at grade schools delivering 3rd grade dictionaries.
In fact, President Ian Risley has asked us to let everyone know, please go in and log the volunteer hours that Rotarians do, in addition to monetary contributions, to show the impact of what Rotarians are doing.
Absolutely. This year's presidential citation requirement required that your current president go on to Rotary Club Central and put in, I think, 15 different goals. 10 out of, and that was new. I mean, luckily some of our presidents were putting in our annual fund goal, but there's a lot more to it. There were service goals, there were foundation goals. Excuse me. It'd be terrible if I lost my voice right now. There's a day spa, isn't there? I thought I'd go to the day spa. No, there's you can put all those goals in, and then you can log in your service hours, and that's something that helps show the rest of the world what Rotary is doing as well. That when we got 1.2 million Rotarians working around the world on projects, often every week, I don't think it was unusual the few times I've been to India. You know, I'm sure that they're doing more there because they got me there. And that becomes a photo op to have the big white American there with all the Indians. And so they would dedicate their psychiatry office, and they would dedicate all these things at schools and all that because it would bring the media. Well, we need to be doing that in our own communities as well, in our own small way. And so let's keep that up. So put a number down. Give examples. Take pictures. Question 3 can be, Just answer with bullet points. What did you do? Remember that Rotarians ordered the supplies. Rotarians accepted those supplies, took them to the organization and handed them out. Rotarians were involved in the bookkeeping and in the reporting. On the animal cage project I mentioned before, which you'll see in a little bit, you don't have to talk about Rotarians are going to go to the animal shelter and walk the dogs every week for the rest of the year. It's not part of the project. Buying the cages, delivering them, that's part of the project. So the photos that I mentioned earlier, when you've got pictures of Rotarians right there on the site, helping kids get their school, getting their sports shoes selected, that's great evidence that the Rotarians were actively involved in the project. When the Rotarian is there at the counter, writing the check, paying the bill, again, more substantiation that you really did the work. Questions 4 and 5 in that final report document. How many non-Rotarians benefited? Again, not the whole community. Not all the poor people in the community. We need a number. Usually you can find that out. If you bought computers for your library, how many people does the library serve every year? Call up the librarians. They know. They have to put it on umpteen reports all the time. How many more people are going to be able to be served now that they have more computers? Yes?
If you're servicing children, do you count them and babies? Do you count them as people?
I think so. Yeah. Tell me a little more about that. I mean, why wouldn't we?
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
So,
I don't understand, what was the project?
the project that I got hooked on is called Bridges Path. It's in my Kettering off of Dixie, and what they do is take the heroin babies when they come out of the hospital and go through, and then, and this is where I have the hardest part, the foster parents are back to the mother, which horrifies me to no end. So I've gotten extremely involved in that, so I wasn't sure if the babies would be included.
Yeah, they're being helped tremendously, absolutely. So give us a number, don't be vague about it. And there's no penalties. If you only helped 10 people, you helped 10 people. If it was 1,000, it's 1,000. You know, that's great. Address sustainability. You know, if you're doing dictionaries, you're helping with literacy. You can't take education away from people. So that's sustainable. If you're giving out a freezer to a food pantry, that's going to last for 5 or 10 years, hopefully. And so you're going to be helping hundreds of people or thousands of people every year for several years. So that's sustainability and measurable. If a cooperating organization was involved, what was its role? This might just be, does not apply. Oftentimes it will be. Not many of our projects are going to have cooperating organizations. You're going to have beneficiaries, but you just talked about the beneficiaries in the last question. But if you're doing that smoking cessation program, your cooperating organization was the Red Cross. What was involved? They provided the trainers that went in and ran smoking cessation workshops at the schools for 8 weeks from October through December. So the beneficiaries are not cooperating organizations. Financial report, again, for these district grant projects, they're going to be very simple. You probably got a 1-page Excel spreadsheet showing the money arrived, where did it come from, maybe $1,000 from the district, $1,000 from your Rotary Club, maybe you needed an extra $50 and that came from Rotarian Bob Gray, and then you spend it on this and this and this, and then you're down to zero again. And here's the receipts for those things. Here are the bank statements that support those, where the income came in and went out, and you're done. Don't send the originals, keep the originals, send Income equals expense. This is a 50-50 thing on the reports that get turned into my district. They kind of think that if we're within 10 bucks, we're good. But no, if you spent $1,100.10, then let's show where the $1,100.10 came from. Don't just show where $1,000 came from, because obviously the rest of the money probably came out of your club's till. So if your club had to put a little extra money in, just lay it out there. Yes, it's different than what was on your application. Not significantly different, we hope, but slightly different. Just tell them, so that the income equals the expenses. It's just like they do at the federal government. Who knows? I'm not going to bring up the federal government.
There's no deficit on money.
There is not. No. Certifying signatures. Your club president needs to sign that. He or she is the ultimate authority during that Rotary year for your club's expenditures of funds. They need to be putting their signature on there saying that this is what we did. Then send it in to Greg. Send in all the copies. Retain the originals. District grant golden rules. Spend all the money. Write checks only to vendors, not to the beneficiaries or cooperating organizations. Save the actual receipts. Income equals expenses. It's not uncommon, it doesn't happen often, but we had a club that asked for $1,000, and they were going to put $1,000 in, they were going to do a project. Can't even remember now what it was. It's been 10 years ago or more. They filed the final report. They only spent $1,200. But the final report didn't come with a check. In my mind, where's the check? Because if this is a 50-50 operation, and you're going to spend $2,000, we gave you $1,000, you were going to put in $1,000, and we gave you the $1,000, but you only spent $1,200, then that was a $600 operation. We need to get $400 back. And once we explained it to them, we got the check back. But it was like, no, we just thought you guys are going to pay for more. You know, our club put in $200, you put in $1,000. But again, that's part of the final report process. You might get a better deal than you thought. When you go to buy that refrigerator, you might be buying it on the day that it's 20% off. So you didn't have to spend as much. Well, if you want to go ahead and spend the rest of the money on enhancing the project, like buying food for the food pantry, talk to Frank or Greg first, because you're changing the project some, but they'll probably go ahead and give you the green light. They may have to do something in Evanston first, but probably they'll give you the green light. And then you can spend the money on your groceries, and on your final report, instead of spending $2,000 for the refrigerator, you spent $1,800 and you bought $200 worth of food. Here's our receipts, and you turn it in. Or you just spend $1,800 on the freezer, and you send $100 back, so that it was $900 instead of $1,000. So you don't have to spend all the money, but money that's unspent needs to go back to the Rotary District so that they can then turn it back into Evanston. Don't send it in as a Rotary Foundation donation. Oh, circular issue there. Yeah. When they send it back in, then it's immediately, 3 weeks, available to the district to use for polio or more global grants or something like that. But when your club sends in a donation to the Rotary Foundation, it's 3 years before that ever comes back to the district, and only half of it comes back under their control. So money that's unspent needs to be sent back in with your final report or sooner. So a club needs to understand the grant structure to be qualified. And the qualification is just the terminology the Rotary Foundation uses to mean that club has been approved to use Rotary Foundation funds, whether in a global grant or in the district grant. It means that you understand the commitment to sustainability, stewardship, and record retention, and it will bring us up to a better level of service. Part of the reason that we are rated 100% by Charity Navigator, that we're rated as one of the top 10 foundations in the world, is because we've proven that we handle our money well. I put this in here before I knew that you guys are going to be submitting the club MOU with, signed by your club president-elect when you turn in your grant application. In my district, we have those club MOUs right here. We sign them. Our grants chair puts them away, files them in alphabetical order, keeps them forever, and makes sure that next year the new president-elect signs them and they keep them all updated. And getting them with the application is a good way to do it. Apply before that deadline. We are close to being done. Got a couple little exercises to work through. I don't think we're going to need to stay till 9.
It's currently 8 o'clock. Did you want a comfort break and then Q&A? Do we want to just continue on? Break. Silence.
Break. There's fresh coffee if anybody wants coffee.
There's fresh coffee.
Yeah.
Now let's take a 5-minute break. We got 2 short workshops to work through.